I'm going to start it. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the season finale, the 10th episode of KTCG Radio. We're going to be talking about our jobs today. What do you have to add, Gemise, for the final
No, that's
episode?
it. We're just gonna the final episode.
Nope.
No, it's just gonna be a nice conversation and get people thinking about what interviews they need to go on and why they need to leave their current job out the door. Just run away.
All right. If everybody's ready, we can get started. Any questions so far? No? You're good?
No.
No? All right. Am I still loud enough, Zakia? Okay. All right, so for this first question, what did you study in college? Not assuming that everybody here went to college, but
I'll go first. Yeah, so mine is Bacare. I think it's like third episode I've done, so I might as well be like
Oh, what's popping, man? How you doing?
might as well be a co-host at this point. So of course I went to Baruch with Hamed and Gemise Zakia. And at Baruch I was studying I majored in business communications and then I double minored in English and African American studies.
Okay,
That's beautiful.
I could go next. So I studied, at first I thought I was going to be, an accounting major / finance major, at Baruch Zicklin School of Business. But then I think, Bacare, you're the one that put me on to business communications.
Bro, the funny thing is, we had that conversation because I
Yeah.
came in an accounting major too and took
Yeah.
business 1000 and said accounting is a dub.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard. So I literally finished all of the Zicklin prerequisites, and I was like, "This ain't for me." I got my ass whooped by macro, micro, statistics was pretty difficult for me. But I think I got like a B in it. But just judging from those classes, I was like, I don't think I would have made it in the Zicklin School of Business, depending because of this type of student that I am. So I was like, okay, I was hearing good shit about business communications. And as Bacare put it, it was always the wise man choice because it was in the Wiseman School of, what was it? Liberal
Arts and
arts?
Sciences.
Yeah, arts and sciences. So I ended up studying for business communications and minored in African American studies. And never regretted it.
All right. So also went to Baruch. I studied finance. So I stayed with Zicklin. I got my ass whooped too, but I still was able to manage. So yeah, I studied finance and I minored in communication. So yeah.
I'm really proud of you guys, man. Y'all getting beat up, but everyone stood tall. That's so beautiful to hear.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Gemise, would you?
Yeah. So I came in and left where I studied business communication and minored in philosophy.
Do you think that was a right decision?
It was the awesome decision. I mean, the funny part is, I already knew that I wanted to come and study in communication to begin with. But I think philosophy, what had me, and that was the first time I dropped a class, where she literally had us reading this like original work. And every time I came out of the class, I was like, what the hell am I reading? I was like, okay, it's time to drop. Maybe I need to do something else. But I was like, no, maybe it was just her. She just being a real stickler for philosophy and all up on people's, don't want to say the word. But it was
That's
a perfect
unhealthy
choice.
right there.
It was a very perfect choice.
No, that was a good choice, man. It was. I actually tell that to people all the time. Anytime you meet anyone that preach philosophy and it's from their perspective, don't trust that shit. Nah, that's true, bro. There's helping someone, but then there's helping someone for yourself. That's that bougie philosophy. You don't need that. You did something wonderful.
Okay. All right, we can move on to the next question. Did your major play a role in your current career?
I can go on that, even though, y'all boy stayed home with his demons. Yeah, definitely. all the studying, you know, I do a lot of animation, photography, you know, a lot of media based talents, you know, and now, you know, I'm a photographer, you know, content creator. It definitely had a big role to play in my interest in things in life. You know, I look at things from that all of those perspectives. So, you know, definitely had a big role to play in where I'm at, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Anybody else?
I think Bacare.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was actually really funny because Hamed knows, and that's why it was really funny when I ended up graduating doing the job that I did because I was like super anti accounting and finance my whole undergrad, didn't care for it. Like I didn't really like switch my major off of like thinking it was too hard. It was just like, wow, this is incredibly boring and I want nothing to do with it. And then my first job out of college is like credit risk at Goldman Sachs, where I needed those exact skills that I never got because I never took the finance or accounting courses and always did like a different internship. Like I had like offers at different bulge bracket banks, but I always went like the tech company route because I just enjoyed that culture a lot more. So when I graduated and ended up going to Goldman Sachs to do that role, it was pretty much with the logic of like, yeah, I want to get those skills and this is the company. And there was a company out there that I was gonna like take that, you know, headache on with. It was gonna be Goldman just because of that brand and opportunities that I viewed that it was gonna open up later on. And so, I mean, granted, I just left Goldman like a few weeks ago, but ended up being in that role for close to 3 years. So I mean, no regrets there. But yeah, so to conclude, like yeah, business communications. I think from a technical skills standpoint, definitely didn't help with my first role out of college. But I think why I enjoyed that major so much is because you get a lot of like broader soft skills that I feel feels like they're super applicable to any kind of career. Like being able to communicate well, both written and verbal, putting together presentations and stuff like the stuff that you probably wouldn't avoid in most jobs that you get out there. So I think the major provided enough general soft skills to be helpful in whatever I do.
Nice. So I'll jump in. Definitely think what I majored in helped. So I'm a compliance analyst and an assistant manager for a commercial and residential bank. So I'm always seeing numbers every day, unfortunately. And I actually do a lot of more accounting things than finance. So it was just funny that like I took an extra finance accounting course while I was in Peru. And I was like, why did I do this to myself? Like it was a 4-credit accounting course. You could imagine. It didn't go well, but those skills that I got from that experience definitely helps like my day to day because like I'm just in it's a smaller bank. It's a big bank, but just a smaller bank, and you know you take on so many roles. Like you have one defined like job title, but you have so many different roles that you're doing within that title. So yeah, it was helpful.
Okay. Gemise, would you like to?
Yeah. So I don't know. I agree with Bakari on this one definitely. The whole because I'm a pre-K teacher. I'll be moving on to kindergarten next year. I think what helped me with my major is those soft skills. Just the simple fact of like what a presentation is. How am I speaking to my students? How am I talking to parents? How do I have conversations? Conflict. How do I deal with conflict? Those little things like that. I think those pieces played a major role in my current career. But like trying to, do marketing a brand or do PR for a brand, like none of that matters right now, to be quite honest.
Okay. I mean, for me, I thought I was going to play a role because I thought I was going to get a job that related to business communications in general in any shape or form. But I ended up doing IT as currently my current position is a IT help desk position, and that requires me to be more technical. And so it for me, my major didn't really I didn't really find a job that like exemplified those skills that we learn from business communications. And so for and I was unfortunate because I was really interested in like finding a job that related to my major, but difficulties arose in my life, and I had to find another way to be more competitive. So I joined a 6 month IT boot camp, got my IT certificates, and then I found a job in IT, so to speak. So using those soft skills is helping currently because there's a lot of assholes in IT. These are people who run companies, so they don't have time to be nice to you. So the soft skills that I've learned in business communications, being patient, being calm, when talking to all levels of customer, you can be talking to a senior executive, you can be talking to like an everyday employee. So being able to pick up on those cues and knowing how to talk to that person in order to have a satisfactory review at the end of the day is important. And I definitely learned those skills in business communications. Yeah.
So,
You got the next one.
yep, of course. What were your top three choices of career
In college, like when you first started college, what did you expect?
to, to be going into?
Yeah. Like what were your dream jobs basically?
Yeah, it was like, that's gonna give me the money I need.
Yeah, that's funny because I feel like I was one of those people who silently had no idea
Yeah.
what I wanted to do. Like when I was in high school, I thought I was going to do computer science, and then I went to Baruch, where for me like it's a business centric school. So then I opened my mind to the idea of like, okay, maybe the business side of corporate America is where I want to be. And then I thought I wanted to do accounting, and I was like, nah, it's quiet. And so for me, like once I kind of picked my major business communication, I was fully sold in the idea that I was going to be doing some of consumer marketing
Yeah.
post graduation. And then just like life took me wherever it went. So I mean, for me, like I didn't really have a firm idea until about sophomore year what I wanted to do, and then I ended up not doing that anyway. Like my first internship was at AOL doing consumer marketing, loved it. Following summer, I did sales at Google, which was very different from marketing, but it was still in like that digital marketing space. I was like, okay, cool. I don't like sales at all, but just the space and the industry is where I want to be. And then I graduate and do the polar opposite of both of them. So it's like for me, like I was one of those people who's always like, I think the one constant was like I just like remaining nimble, trying new shit and getting out of my comfort zone. And then I think for me it's just as helpful trying something, loving it, and knowing you're loving it. But it's also extremely helpful to like try something and hate it and know that, oh, this is the path I don't want to be on no longer. Then you just make the adjustments from there. And I feel like both are extremely helpful learning experiences. So yeah, that's just kind of how I went. I changed my mind too much to really know exactly what I wanted to do out of college anyway. So
Definitely. Zakia, you got anything?
I could jump in. So in high school, well, my senior year in high school, I thought I wanted to be an architect. I don't know what I was thinking. But at that
Me too.
time, like,
I forgot about that.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like invested in like interior design architect. And then when I started doing research, it was like only the top 1% are paid. Everybody else is like, I said, okay, so that's clipped. So that dream went out the window. And then when I finally got to Baruch, similar to Bacare, I had no idea what I wanted to do. But I was like, since I'm here, let's try marketing. Nope, it wasn't for me. And then I really just jumped in front of the train and said, all right, I'm on the finance route. Like, and I stuck to it, but like long term like goals was law. It's always been law, it's still law, but I've had a few internships with like corporate firms, and you could do anything before you apply or go to law school. And I just thought it would be essential to have some kind of business knowledge, being that I would be entering a business sector in law, like finance or leverage finance or M&A, things like that. So I was like, okay, it makes sense to like get that fundamental knowledge about it before I like really take that next step.
Definitely. Rahim, you got anything?
Girl, I ain't go to college, man.
No,
But
it's
out of
just about top three choices in career.
in career, strangely enough, I don't know. I think we all were just manipulated in school because I wanted to be an architect.
Yo,
Like I
where's
got a
that
lot of
coming
books,
from?
yeah, and
Where's
I'm
that
actually
coming from?
really good at it too. But I think that might had something to do with like a lot of interior design more
Yeah.
so. You know, I wanted to. I think I'm doing what I wanted actually. I really wanted to be an animator. Really good at visual effects. Got into it in high school and it stuck.
Mm-hmm.
It took a little time to learn, but I'm still doing it and it's paying off really well to just take that difficult route because you got no support. Like you coming out of high school trying to chase your dreams, you kind of asked out automatically, especially if you don't have things like scholarships, no aid. It's like, all right, it's time to hit the damn search bar. And that's how it was. I wanted to do animation and I did it. So that's where it was. Yeah.
I mean, for me, top three choices. I remember being an architect was a really big one, and it's until I got into college that I realized I really like media because everything I was doing was pointing to media, like
Hmm.
especially because in Baruch I was a USG, and I during our like campaign I enjoyed being out there talking to people, marketing who Rise Baruch was as a team, and then like informing the masses of like our goals and our plans. And Seek and Chi Alpha, I was the marketing director for Chi Alpha for my junior year, and like creating posters and like marketing people, talking to people. And I realized that I enjoyed that. But for me, I thought it was in marketing, but then I realized it was in media. That was like that. I think that's the passion when you came out about this podcast idea. I was like, oh, this comes back full circle because I really enjoyed media. I like all forms of media, to animation, to books and reading, to basically like any art form that people can, receive a message from. I was really thoroughly enjoyed in that. So I definitely thought business communication was going to push me in that route, being in some type of media job. But I guess in a way, computers are a form of media when you use them correctly. And so I feel like it, even though it wasn't my plan when I started college to become an IT person, it definitely is a love that I began to recognize throughout the years. I was like, I'm working with computers. I love gaming, and what's the central thing that brings all this together? And it's definitely technology. So I feel like I made the right decision in the end. How about you?
Cool. Yeah, I mean, in high school, I thought I was gonna be like a news reporter or a journalist. That was really I just wanted the behind the scenes. I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was really just intriguing, just to I don't know, be in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
But then my mom was so worried that someone would kidnap me overseas, and yeah, she was very worried. She was like, "What if they kidnap you? How am I gonna see you again?" And I was like, "Okay, so you don't want me to be a news reporter. You don't want me to be a journalist." Because I can't always stay local. So
Yeah.
those dreams were down.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was also that, but then it was also the schools that I was looking at. Like most of them
Mm.
were far away, and I was like, I don't want to go away.
Mm-hmm.
I want to stay local. I want to stay with my family, and I don't think Baruch had anything like that. Like journal, like I didn't want to do journalism at Baruch. I was just like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Was it the Mark School of Public Relations? Was it? Is it that?
No, they had journalism in. I think it was in Wyoming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to
I think
minor in
Mark's is
either.
public affairs.
Public affairs. Okay, my bad.
He's speaking bad on his own university. But then when I got to Baruch, I was all on this like, yeah, I'm gonna be a public relations manager or something in that vicinity. And then I interned at the Borgen Project, and I'm like, doing all the tasks that I'm supposed to be doing. I'm marketing them. I'm reaching out to like news places, the New York Times, trying to get people to talk about the Borgen Project. And I was like, this is heavily boring. And I was like, I do not. And then I realized after a while, I was like, I don't want to be representing one place, one brand, and that be it. It just wasn't enjoyable for me. And then I just became a teacher. I know I just wanted something to do with mentoring and like leading. Um, and yeah, I mean, the teaching just happened to happen because if I didn't apply for Teach for America, I probably wouldn't have any job right now. I don't know where I would be because I didn't have a plan after graduation. I was just at a standstill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ready for the next question?
Yeah. So When you imagined where you would be 5 to 10 years ago, did your vision become realized? Did it become actual?
See everybody thinking.
10 years ago.
I mean, realistically for me, I wasn't nowhere close to the mindset that I have 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
My concerns was coming to school early and roasting ass for 2 hours. So,
He definitely was.
like when teachers ask that and I look back at it, it's like, I don't think that's a good question to ask kids. It's like, here are
Mm-hmm.
some tools to help you get through life in 5 to 10 years, like because we're not taught how to do those things, like, okay, I have a goal, how do I reach it? So where I saw myself, I was like, definitely not broke. And that was pretty much it. That was all I had. It's like I ain't trying to be broke. And that was my vision.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm be honest. I just don't think I was one of those people who had that much foresight. Like I felt
Yeah.
like I always kind of operated in increments. So like for me, when I was in high school, I was worried about getting to the best college I could. Now I got to college, and then the goal was, hey, get these internships, but then also the main goal is to graduate, right? And then once that was like one of the things, okay, cool, like that's gonna happen. So okay, cool, now secure the best
Mm-hmm.
full-time job. So I mean, I just always had goals I was working towards, but I don't think I really had a firm vision of like, yo, 5 years from now I should be doing this. I just wanted to be successful in whatever I was doing. So I was very broad and like pretty incremental in that way. Like I just definitely didn't have that much foresight.
Mm. Okay.
Wait, 10 years ago, I was what, 13? I'm 23
Yeah,
now.
23.
I was about to say,
13.
imagine 10 years ago.
Right.
13. What, like, so what grade is that?
That's like high
13?
school.
Yeah,
That's
that's
high
high
school,
school.
Early
Yeah,
13?
intern.
9,
Yeah.
10th grade, I believe.
High
Yeah.
school at
Oh, please.
13.
Oh, yeah.
You scholars.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Like,
I was wilding. I could care less
Yeah.
about any career.
Yo,
right, right.
damn, what
In
about
my
5 years ago?
I thought I was gonna be driving trains, but yeah. I laugh. Everyone laughs when I say that. Like I
I don't
really
know why
did.
that's it's just the way you
Nah,
word
the way you said it,
No, but yeah, absolutely
Oh my
not. But
god.
I was a good kid in school still, though, so yeah, but like just trying to find out what I wanted to do for life in a sense. No, that was not my focus 10 years ago. Um,
Mm,
but I was like just focused on, getting good grades, making my parents proud, like that kind of stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
definitely.
interesting now. 5 years ago, maybe I started, being a little more in depth or trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. But yeah, 10 years ago, no, that's a stretch.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, for me, I don't know.
Don't be telling no lies. This
I'm
is
not
13
telling
year old
lies.
Hamed.
I mean, 10 years ago, I can echo those sentiments. I didn't really have that type of foresight. But I feel like in high school, I had a fear of like, I don't know, I had like a deep fear of being homeless for some reason. Like constantly, I've constantly seen like homeless people around where I live, and I'm like, how as a child, where does that mistake happen where your trajectory is like homelessness, you're in the streets, and it's just unfortunate. Where does that start
Start. Yeah,
in
yeah,
your
yeah.
young life? And I had a deep fear of that. I strongly remember that. So I feel like at the beginning of high school, I had this strong passion of not fucking up because they always tell us, oh, there's like the high school to prison pipeline, and then it was just constant fear of just failing in life. So I was just like, yo, what the hell? How do I make sure that I'm on the path of success? But
Yeah, I'm
five
only
years ago,
laughing because we went to a weird high school.
yeah,
That's all.
definitely,
That's all.
definitely,
That's really about it.
definitely. Like, I get why you're laughing. But like 5 years ago, the vision of like me being an accountant or like somewhere in finance or like an engineer with architecture, of course, that hasn't been realized. And I can recognize that now, but I never thought I would be able to like build my first computer 5 years ago. So um, it definitely took me aback when I realized my life now. When I think about it now, how about you, James?
Yeah, 10 years ago, I mean, 13-year-old me.
I know what you were doing.
You I mean, I won't say out here, but I was a good student. I mean, I was, my mom was strict on like getting an education. So I was in there getting A's, getting all the good grades I could, or I was gonna come home and get my ass whooped. Let's just
Jesus.
put it how it needs to be put.
Yep.
But I feel like a lot of things happen in high school that I don't think I was really trying to think about what it would be in 5 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like what my brother's friend had passed away. That was really traumatizing.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after that, we got evicted, and I was in a shelter, and I was living with my stepfather. The only thing that I was worried about was getting some money, making sure my mom and sister were good, and I guess just trying to make it through life. Like I wasn't thinking, oh, am I going to be a teacher? Am I going to be teaching students? I was just thinking, what's the job that I can get that's going to get me my money so that I can get my own place, do the things that I need to do to make sure that my family and myself is set. Um, so that was really, I don't know, just thinking about like where you come from and things like that. Like you're not always taught to have this vision. Also, like there's so many things that are happening in life
That is true. That is
that like
true.
restricts you from like thinking, oh, I want to do this when I get older. I want to do this, and it's like no, it's like the main goal is to survive. Like how am I gonna make sure everybody's good?
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
All right, the next question. In your place of work, do you find yourself code switching?
Repeat that, please.
In your place of work, do you find yourself code switching?
Code switching. No.
Mm.
Um, it's really weird. But if you know me personally, I genuinely do not code switch. I learned that it's one of my biggest advantage everywhere I go,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to communicating with people. You know, when you're surrounded by like a whole bunch of like, I go around people that are looking to uh recruit, right? And
Mhm.
a lot of people get scared, like, okay, this person's a billionaire, let me act different. And I used to do a lot of delivery when I first started out making money. And one thing I learned was people high in power love being treated human, so me just being me even cursing, me not having, the best grammar always made them feel so much more comfortable versus, hey, hi, how are you doing? I've heard a lot about you. What's good is literally superior to all of that, and I don't code switch for nothing, like if I'm visiting, sure,
Mhm.
but not in my basic and casual interactions with my job. It makes people more comfortable when I'm who I am. If
Mhm.
you're a sketchy person, you better code switch. But realistically, I don't. It troubles me to be someone else.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear that.
Anybody else would like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I say for me, it's a mixed bag. I would say if I'm thinking about my first year out of college in those 3 years, I would say early on, I was a lot more keen to cone switching because for me, I just came in with the mindset of like, I just need to play it safe.
Yeah.
Obviously, just I'm way out of my comfort zone. Like I moved out of New York, so I was in the West Coast,
Yeah.
and the dynamics of the city I'm in was just very different from what I came from. So I was like, okay, I like my first day in, I walked into the floor and I see my team, and I'm like, cool, I'm the only black person on this side of the floor. And I'm the only male analyst on my team. So my team at the time was like all white and Asian women as analysts, and
Oh
they're like
wow.
our VPs were it was like three, it was like two male VPs and then one woman VP as well. So I mean, for me, I was just like, all right, clearly like this is not the environment to bring my full self to work.
Mm.
But I grew out of it. I mean, I think for me, once I was comfortable in the fact that I could go out, like I do this job well, and I don't need to go out my way to feel like I'm holding so much of myself back
Mhm.
to be successful here, then it kind of just like left me. Like I would say, especially it being Goldman, it was just like, yeah, I mean, I came in pretty buttoned up, weren't like kind of like, I did the business casual thing for a solid 3-4 months before I was like, yeah, I'm wearing sneakers to work. Like it was just like after it's like, who cares, bro? Like, and granted, I'll say I was in a unique position being in like the Salt Lake office versus the New York office. I think it was just naturally a bit more casual of a Goldman office than like New York headquarters would have been.
That's very true.
But even then, it was just like, yeah, I'm gonna bring myself to work and deal with it. And like, it just ended up working so much in my favor. And like, that's really where I started really building those amazing relationships with different people, like especially people who are more senior than me, because I think being authentic could get you.
Yeah, it gets you far, man.
So like, I was just like one of those people that was like, cool, like I played the game for a little bit in the beginning and thought that was going to be the route, but very quickly I was like, nah. I mean, if I'm good at this role, like is like what I deserve is going to come. And so that code switching shit lasted not too long at all before I was like, yeah, I'm gonna bring me. Now, granted, and I'll stop here because I feel like I'm chatting. I think anytime you're in corporate America, I wouldn't call it code switching, but I think you dial certain things back. Like I'm not the person who's gonna come in a room and fucking pretend I don't got a New York accent and pitch up my voice and talk. You feel me? Like
you gotta hide that real quick.
Yeah, like I'm never gonna be that guy, but I'm also like you do kind of operate with some sense of couth where like you're not gonna talk to a VP saying dead ass every 4 sentences like I would if I'm talking to a Met. Like so you definitely dial certain things back.
Yeah.
Just, be on the side of like caution, be on the side of caution with that and definitely being professional. But beyond that, like it's just I'm me at the end of the day. So
definitely.
Right. Definitely agree with Bacare and Rahim. But you guys know how I talk with y'all. I'm definitely not walking in a meeting like you're ever at work. So
we were just talking about that too.
Was good.
I do code switch when need be, but it's not like I'm changing how I talk. Like how I talk now on this Zoom is how I talk in the office. But just being mindful and respectful of like the people I'm in front of course. And it's needed. Like also when I walked in, I'm the youngest in my department, so they already don't know the lingo. If I was to even speak like that off rip, like they have like 20-30 years on me, so they probably like, what the hell are you talking about, right? But I think I have reached this level of just comfortability in my role because I started out as an intern with this organization and I kind of worked my way up. So they've become familiar of how I am, and I've become familiar of how just our team dynamic. So now it's just like, all right, Zakia. I'm like, all right, that's it.
I feel that. No, I mean, no, I don't code switch. And you know what I think about? I think it's mainly because I'm surrounded by people that look like me, or they come from different backgrounds. No, and I'm being very honest.
No, that's real. That's real. Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess what you learn as a teacher and what you start to see is that there's a lot of white supremacy. Like we're built on white supremacy, and then there's a lot of professionalism that people believe is based on white supremacy. So you start to hear teachers, change up their voice or just sound more polite or things of that nature just because you're speaking in front of someone that does not look like you. But I haven't code switched in my job. Not once.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I don't have to because the demographic will change when I go into kindergarten. So I'm curious what that will look like. But even if I'm code switching, I'm still myself. Like there's nothing different. I don't think the language that I speak with you or that I speak at work is totally different.
I see.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I use code switching strategically. I'm pretty sure other people do. But like, especially if it's like a first impression, like when I was working at
a nice interview.
Yeah, exactly. A nice interview. Even at Baruch, like when I was interviewing for my position with the financial manager, like until she got more comfortable with me, we started talking about our personal lives. Then she realized, I was a funny guy. I don't care if you deny that I am funny. But like I made her laugh on multiple occasions. She's like, I would have never guessed you were like this funny person. Like you're always quiet and stuff like this. So it's like for me, it's interesting to see the dynamic of like when you start to come out of your shell and people see who you really are. So I can agree with all you guys about like
I,
being
I mean that.
authentic.
Yeah, that's a color and demographic issue when it comes to
Yeah.
code switching. I'm gonna keep that one
Yeah.
real. Like if you look at me for my appearance, like a lot of people would not ever know how smart I am. And
Mm-hmm.
that's because they're judging me off the rip. Like it doesn't even matter. So that I have this thing where I also like to be me and even more. Like I would add extra Rahim on top of the Rahim I am just to prove you wrong. Like I go to a lot of film festivals and I don't really see a lot of colored people there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll always feel some type of way about that shit. I always do, but then I also feel proud to just be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I talking different? Because y'all clearly don't know who I am, and I'm bringing that to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you talking about it, you really, really made me think about that. They never
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah,
Assume me
definitely.
quiet and stuff.
Yeah,
Probably
exactly.
me. It's a
Definitely.
mess, man.
Representation matters, Rahim. You doing the
Yeah,
bar right now.
my hair's falling out, so the afro's going soon.
I mean, I feel like you can rock the bowling. You do have the beard for it,
No, I got a motorboat head, man.
right?
All right, all right, Rahim. All right.
I
All
definitely
right, we
agree,
can go
but
on to the. Oh, what happens again?
sorry, I definitely agree. But do you ever think like your managers and stuff would code switch as well? Like they probably don't think they're their most authentic self at work.
Um,
That's. Go ahead.
I can answer that for sure. Like for me, I like to create my energy. Like my bosses, they curse, they flirt, like they do everything a boss shouldn't do because I want them to be just that with me. I feel more safe when people are cursing, when people are not being professional. Like the second I hear you say some proper shit, I'm cross-eyeing you. Like, I don't, who man's is this right here? It's like
Yeah.
it's the for me, I realize you truly have to create that environment. Like without you being yourself, everyone's proper apparently.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, how's your day going? Yeah, well, yesterday, like, nah, yo, listen, shit happened. Like you got your boss cursing at you, you build such a much friendlier workplace when you don't code switch. That's how I look at it.
Mm.
Like
That's a
everyone's
fact.
more fluent,
Yeah.
so much more fluent.
I can definitely agree with that, Ray. What
Yeah.
you guys want to say?
No, you can go.
I mean, with me and my like, because we have daily meetings to like catch up on what we gotta do for the day. And like my manager be cursing up a storm. If like one of the clients is in there tripping balls, she's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like she's white as hell. So I mean, you're definitely right about that. It definitely, but I feel like IT is just that industry where there's not a lot of really proper people. Like IT people, especially if they have experience in this field, most of them are like assholes. They can talk to
Facts.
you the
My
wrong
IT
way.
department be pulling up. Like
Exactly. Like
relax.
if you don't
It's a lack of
follow strict
yeah.
policies or procedures that they have, they can be rude to you and they don't give a shit at the end of the day. So I definitely don't like that aspect because I believe there's a lot of people who aren't, well, older people who aren't really tech savvy. And I feel like the more we can educate them, that's just my philosophy. Like we can make them more comfortable with technology because it's going to continue to evolve. So
No, that's
that,
beautiful, man.
yeah,
That's that patience. You have patience. They don't have
yeah,
patience. I was actually
definitely.
talking about this earlier
Hmm.
on Facebook where I lack patience with people. I get irritated so damn quick,
Hmm.
and so the IT people, most likely that's what it is. It don't mean like they're all assholes. It's the fact
Yeah,
that
yeah,
they know something that's so obvious and you asking questions about obvious shit.
yeah, exactly.
Like I dare you to ask your math teacher what's 1 plus 1. You probably get punched in the face. Like you never see that side of it, but
Yeah,
it's just their lack of knowledge. Like what's wrong with the computer mouse?
definitely,
It's not plugged in, and I'm like they're losing their shit over there. Like I
definitely.
totally get it,
Yeah,
totally get it.
I mean, for me, I recognize that. Like, I recognize that
You got
for
that
us, it's
patience,
like
man.
simple. Like for us, it's like muscle memory. We know what to do at the
Yeah,
same time. But I don't think a lot of people realize like not a lot of people are
know those
comfortable.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
know how to use computers. Recognize because my dad, he was like, "Yo, this link is not working. This link right not working." Guess what? He was clicking on a picture of the link. Like it's not a web page. It was a picture of the web page, and he was clicking the link on the picture. thinking it was an actual link.
Oh god.
So when I recognize that people don't know how to use these devices, like it humbles me. You know, I take a step back and I realize like not everybody's gonna get it. You know,
No,
so
that's beautiful. It
Yeah,
makes
he
them
has a
more
lot of
enticed to
patience.
learning.
yeah,
Yeah,
You
definitely,
know,
he has
definitely.
it really
patience.
does.
And like I know, like when I showed them that, I was like, that's a picture.
My
Like
patience
he,
ain't there, man. I'm trying so hard. It's
it takes
non-existent.
work. It definitely takes work. It's not some. I feel like patience is definitely a skill. Not
It
It
is.
everybody's
is just as well as communication. Yeah.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah,
Very
doubling back to that question though, guys, like if we think managers code switch,
different.
I mean, if you're in like, I feel like a corporate entity, more times than not, is just a very PC environment where people just
Yeah,
kind of hold back a lot.
yeah, yeah.
And so what I found, and granted, I just don't know how applicable it is to every setting I'm going to be and moving forward. But just like once I kind of like let the veil down and just was like giving it up however I felt like it, like
Mm-hmm.
people kind of match that energy with you. Like
Yeah.
by the time I was like really comfortable in my position, it was just kind of like being me. Like my manager was very well. I had two different managers and they were two very different people. My first manager was a lot more like textbook, like, hey, we're just gonna have this kind of managerial relationship. We weren't like the type of people that were gonna like freaking go out to lunch together or something like that. Like it just wasn't that dynamic. But then my second manager, like that was like the homie, bro. And it was like a very unusual like managerial relationship where it's like, bro, like he was I left Goldman and we were texting the other day about like the playoffs. Like you get what I mean? Like we had a lot more casual relationship because that was how we decided to approach it. Like we would walk into a catch up and he would just be talking shit about like whatever VP pissed him off that day. And like once we got out there, I was like, oh, it's good. Like this is really an environment where you can at least be some of sense of yourself. So I mean, I think sometimes when you do come in and be yourself, people tend to kind of match that energy with you because they know
Yep.
you're not someone that's just gonna like take what I say and run with it and like try to like pack me up to HR or something like that. So
Yeah.
Right.
Those
I think
people are weird,
quarantine,
man.
sorry. I think quarantine has also helped with them just like being their true selves. Like you sitting at home on a Zoom call with us in your PJs. So it's like you can relax. You don't have to you don't have to do all that. Like just chill out, right? So I think that has helped like my department a little bit, some of them like kind of cut loose, unbuckle their tie a little bit, just like be yourself. It's all right, be easy. But my like reporting manager, she's also Black and she's a female and she's leaving, which I'm sad. But yeah, like we kick it, like we text all the time. Like she's cool. Like so, I'm just happy that I was able to establish that kind of relationship with someone on my team as well.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That was a good question. We're gonna move on to the next one. Was a formal education necessary for your current success?
I want to say the one. I want to go first and say no because a lot of you guys are going to say yes. No, no, and that's completely fine. Like I want to get that out the way
Yeah,
first.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
um, for me, it's like a big no. You know, again, it's something that you can't just learn casually.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it came from a lot of personal interest where you have to be down to spend those hours and try your best to make ends meet with whatever you're trying to get into, you know. So I didn't have that education or teaching to do what I'm doing right now. You know, this is me saying, all right, I want to learn to do that. I know it's possible, so I'm gonna go learn it. You know, and that's my approach for everything. If I know another human could do it, as long as it's not athletic or anything physical, I know I can do it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know. That's just my approach to it. You know, I wish my education had a role, but it didn't. So I'll have to say no with that.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank
Rahim
Very
just
welcome.
assumed we'd say yes.
you.
Nah, like, y'all, all y'all got communication skills, financing, and no, like think about it. Like even though it's not direct, even though the
It
even though
was
the
like
current
a
careers are not
byproduct.
direct, it's definitely a byproduct. You know,
Yeah.
at first I was hearing no, but I was like, let me shut my non-college ass up. Like, no, that's seriously why I ain't saying nothing. But it's like me being more like accepting to just listen to other people. It's not a feel I'm
Yeah.
trying to be ignorant towards,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know. But like a lot of those traits play off very well, especially with that communicating, you know, a lot of interaction with people.
Yeah.
A lot of those things really
Definitely super
definitely a
important.
big byproduct.
Bacare got muted. I'm gonna go after.
Go ahead,
No,
bro.
I'll be quick. I mean, I think for me, funny enough, bro, like I don't think a formal education is needed for most jobs. Like I think honestly, on-the-job training is what's gonna get you through at the end of the day. I think the real reason why education was necessary for like the roles that I've gotten is really because of the barrier to entry. Like at the end of the day, like a lot of these companies are just super competitive. So a lot of the times the first thing that's gonna get you in the door or get you in front of them was like, okay, on paper, like what is on your resume? And then one of the first things there is like, okay, cool, what college did you go to? What is your GPA? What are you majoring in? Because that's like the first kind of like baseline they have for like whether or not they think you're a good fit. So I think it's made necessary because of like like the competitive nature of a lot of these roles and just like that, you know, huge barrier entry. But I think as far as like being in this seat and doing a role well, like I mean, like you get taught everything you need to learn. I mean, you get taught on the job everything you need to like do the job well. So I mean, like college didn't like. I mean, I think you probably develop like skills to like ramp up quicker, maybe. Like you know, like I think for me the biggest thing I got out of college, especially like the high school student I was, who bullshitted my way through college. I mean, through high school because I went to a shitty high school in the hood. I didn't need to like go crazy to get good grades. Like I was like, cool. Like I just kind of coasted through high school and ended up getting good grades and cool. And then Brew came in and punched me in my face. Like, and so I think being able to kind of like sit down with content you're unfamiliar with and like being able to like study it, learn it, digest it. I think, you know, that skill set is what I got out of college more than anything. And I think that has been helpful in my roles. But otherwise, like on-the-job training is like going to be the main thing anyway. So I don't think it's like really all the way necessary.
Copy. Zakia?
Sorry, it was me or Jimmy's going
No,
next?
you can
No,
go.
you can
Oh, okay. I think Bacari like said everything I had in my mind. Definitely, like you're going to get trained on like on job for any job that you know go for. So no, I don't think education is extremely necessary. Like, and also like I define education as something else. Like you can teach yourself everything you need to know as well. Like you don't have to go to an institution to learn, right? But it's just like what they need on paper and what they need to feel like they have picked the right fit for the role, basically. But
Yeah, that was a good point. I don't know when Rahim had me in my head when he was like he thought he was all about No, because I think what people like obviously we all know the DOE. The whole idea of education is like misconstrued, right? It's not they're not supposed to be sitting there kind of like teaching you what you need to be taught, but it's more like teaching you how you learn, like the skills. They're supposed to be teaching you skills, not a whole bunch of content. And I think that's where the problem happens. So I feel like if, say, for instance, if we were more focused on in college, when you got into college, if we were more focused on what your specific goal was, what you needed to learn to do the next job, you would feel like it was necessary. Um, but it's not focused on what you want to do. It's more focused on what they expect you to know or what they deem necessary. And then Zakia brought up a nice point where it's like they just want to see your diploma. They want to see this piece of paper. They want to see that you got some certificates.
Yeah.
They want to see just anything that's representational of like I can do this job. But and then you guys also mentioned this whole idea of on the job training. I didn't get any training from the job that I'm at now. And I literally mean that in the most serious way possible. When I walked in through the door, I didn't hear, oh, do you need some support? This, that, and the third. No, I walked in and had to like learn everything on my own. Yeah. And Teach for America really, you know, walked me through that path. But they didn't prepare me for the real world of what teaching would be. Like that, even that was probably unnecessary. Because when I got into that classroom, nobody told me I was gonna get slapped in my face and bit on my
Who
ass
slapped
and
you in your
all of these
face?
other things. Spit in my face.
These
no,
kids,
no one said
these kids
those
are
things.
ruthless, bro.
No one
Bro,
said
I
those
beat the
things.
yo. I smoke these kids, man. My girl can't hear me
I'm
talk
trying to
like
keep
that,
my job,
son.
not lose it.
Nah, you
But
good.
like,
That's why we not friends, right? No,
but
you
like,
don't know
that's
that,
what I
man.
mean. Like, for me to be successful in my career, no one was teaching me these things, right?
Yeah.
Education didn't do it. If I had went to a teaching school, maybe, right, something that was geared towards what I was already doing, then it would make sense. But the way that we have created education and the way that we've set it to teach people or whatever they want to do, it's been very fucked up. Everybody should know the education sphere is completely fucked up.
It's weird. My I have this I'm so sorry you were talking.
No, go ahead.
I have this nurse. I do a lot of courier work in a day for the hospital. And she always tells me, those papers are just made to hold people back. And I'm always a little skeptical on people who are too woke. So I'm a little like push back on it a little like, I don't think so. But then, you run into situations where they ask for shit like they want a bachelor degree in photography. I'm like, that shit doesn't exist, bro. Who's out here being a bachelor in photography? Like, and those people are normally buns anyway. Like, why do I need a paper to show you how beast I am? And that's something that's really underrated. It's the same saying like a mechanic that's not licensed can't fix your car. And mind you, Pablo's probably the best dude on the block. So those papers are it's a really shitty situation. But again, as someone who hire people regularly, just knowing that they're capable without having to guess is also like extremely reassuring, where I could say like, okay, you went through 30 hours of training. I freaking trust you to do this job. Versus, like, yo, I can do it, bro. Trust me. It's like,
Yeah, but
I
30
don't know
hours,
about
how
all of
much did
that.
you remember?
I'm
Tempting to
scared of people
foolishness.
that's too woke as well. It's like
Oh,
they act like they've been roaming the earth for 1,000 years. Like you've been here before.
no, it's
Talking
weird.
about.
I avoid it. I avoid it. I hide my knowledge when those people come around. It's like, bro, it's not that deep, man. And I get it, you're older, but it's, oh God, messy situation.
Because Rahim, I was about to say, I feel like corporate companies use that to hold people back. Because when you really think about it, because before in the past, the high school diploma was like the penultimate degree that you needed in order to get like a good job. And when they realized that a certain group of people were getting more and more of these diplomas, that's when they wanted to start like making it a college degree is important. So I feel like there's only a certain demographic of people like
Who can
you,
achieve such a thing? Yeah.
especially like your example, a fucking bachelor's in photography. What
I
what
know what
black
it is.
person is doing that in this day and age? Like, who would actually think I'm gonna get a bachelor's degree, 4 years of college, and I'm gonna do that so I can be financially stable in the future? Only a
Who's going
certain
in debt for
group,
that? Like
only a certain group of people is actively doing that, and they want those people to
It's
come
true.
into their business. So the
It's
nurse that
true.
was talking to you, maybe she's trying to like adhere to that, but like
It's true.
I see it
To an
completely.
extent,
Yeah.
I've experienced it a well. If you guys ever question this, why I don't have my face on social media often, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's messed up, but this is exactly how I landed my job at Samsung. Like, I thought it was weird that they had photographers that were not as good as I was. So the little instinct in me says, you know what? Perhaps it's my face, right? So I removed all of my pictures online. And before you know it, I was getting into like a lot of, companies and these big corporations. And then when I pull up to the meeting and it's a whole black dude, it's like, oh,
We didn't know
I'm
that.
like,
We
yeah,
didn't know
I
that.
went to meetings before where like the janitor would be like, are you doing delivery? Like, I make more money than you, my man. Like even those like assumptions is so bizarre. Like they don't expect to see our people there. And when you finally meet other colored people in such environments, they forgot they were colored apparently. It's like, what's going on here? It's
that's
like
so funny.
the less black you are, is the more acceptable to a lot of these corporations. Like if you can drop the hood, if you can drop their hair, if you could pull it up, well, nobody wants to pull up their pants. But what I'm saying is the less of a stereotype you are to these people, the more they trust you. You know, like I always say, like the less masculine a black man is the more trustable he is. Right? Like you'd find like the dudes with not that much energy, people feel comfortable. It's something I picked up a lot, you know, especially a lot of these you know, vanilla people, you know, like they would trust the gay guy first. And it's like the less of a colored person you are, the less who you are naturally, they trust you more. You know, like that's just how it is. You got like, yeah, my name is Santino and I'm here to fix your car. Yeah.
Was that one of the reasons why your photography pen name is Sugarcone?
I mean, yes, massively. Like, they don't expect to see a buff ass black dude pull up. They really don't.
Yeah.
You know, like, especially where my personality does not match my appearance either. I feel like it's more soft and welcoming. Like, it's something I grew up with, and nobody could tell me different. Like, especially where how racism is constant, especially if you're someone of color. Like, you feel those eyes all the time, you know, and sometimes it gets really hurtful. So it's like, even if I can soften that treatment a little, changing my handle to something more approachable is definitely my approach. And then, you know what? I just happen to match it anyway. Like, oh, sugar cup, that's weird, but you get to know me, and it's something. Then it just becomes more comfortable.
Yeah.
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 So just dim it down a little, drop the sauce. He's all right.
But going back to like the bachelor's in photography, like a lot of us, like I didn't go to school for something I really wanted to do. If I did, I would be writing raps for people. Like I'll be a ghostwriter. If I, like that's really something I wanted to do in high school, right? So definitely pick the career that would just make me financially stable, of course.
Exactly.
Like, you know, I definitely didn't go for it for interest. I wish I could have followed passion, but we just don't have that luxury to do that. So
We don't. We don't.
We don't. All right. Thank you guys for sharing. We can move on
Yeah.
to the. Yeah,
Next one.
Mhm.
Okay, so how did you network your way to where you stand now? If you did network.
If you did.
I did a lot of networking, but I feel like I went first a lot. So I'm just, you know,
No worries. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Rahim.
Appreciate it.
very well.
Yeah, I could go. Networking for me like has gotten me in every room I've been in one way or another. Like whether it was, you know, getting into like the diversity programs in undergrad, like MLT or NY, because you know other upperclassmen at Brook that I knew was telling me, hey, like, these are programs that I did that were dope, and this got me X Y Z opportunity. Like you should do it too. Then you know you participate in these programs, and then you really craft those really diverse networks because it's just out of like the scope of people you know at your like where you're from or like the schools you go to or whatever. And so even like going into full time, right? Like, you know, for me, like my intro to Goldman was really going to like these networking sessions that they would host at Baruch, where like, you know, a few full-time employees would come to campus, you know, speak about their experience there. And then after they would do like a short little like, you know, 5 to 10 minutes where like, you know, we would kind of like go up there, introduce ourselves, go up to them and introduce ourselves and just kind of like, you know, hear a bit more about them. Or if not, just like, you know, grab their email and try to set up time afterwards. So networking for me has played a huge part. And even in me leaving Goldman was just strictly off of networking. Like the role that I'm in now, pretty much how it ended up happening was, you know, my first internship in 2016, you know, that marketing role at AOL I was telling about, I just had kind of just always kept in contact with like one of my managers there. And so ever so often we just exchange a few words on LinkedIn, whether like, you know, she got a new role, I got a new role, and then we'd have a quick little dialogue, like, you know, based on that. And so when I was kind of like in that zone of like really wanting to transition out of my Goldman role last year, she was one of the people that I reached back out to, just pretty much, you know, wanted to pick her brain as far as like, you know, the moves she's made in her career, you know, the path that she took, just like, you know, more than anything, just want to kind of like source a bunch of information just to like kind of like, you know, as I'm trying to make that transition, hearing people who've done it before me have done it multiple times. It was just like, information that I just really wanted. And so I mentioned like the companies that I wanted to actually get into. And so pretty much, one of them that I mentioned, she had a friend there and she connected me to her. And then that friend ended up referring me. And then that's how I got my current role. So literally like networking for me has just opened up pretty much every door that I've been able to walk through up to this point.
Definitely.
Thanks. I'll jump in. Networking have definitely been essential and has like got me where I need to be as well. And it started from Baruch. I was also in MOT. I did SEO. I did ladders. And my MOT coach told me personally, like she requested that I be one of her like fellows because she remembered me from some event. And I was like, where? I didn't remember you. But you never know. Like you never know who is looking, watching, and waiting. I would say networking has put me at a lot of tables of, otherwise I would not have had a seat at. So definitely essential for where I am now and just what my current role, like the recruiter, like that looked at my resume and stuff, she like was a Ladders alum. She went to Baruch as well. So you never know who's looking out and watching out for you. Because they really do look out for their people.
Definitely. For me, Rahim, you want to go?
So generous. Yeah, it's a big, very big part of getting a job. I realized, like,
Yeah.
even though we just spoke about having certain papers and certifications, in the hospital, you will learn you ain't need no damn degree, none of that. You need to know someone in there. So I've seen so much people pulled up with bachelor's, masters, leave those labs crying. And I would say networking is about more close to just as important as having those kind of documents. Even with my positions, I had to know someone to get in. I had to know someone that knew someone to get a lot of things done. Networking definitely helped me get far. Shoot, the competition I'm in, I had to network to even know about it. It's not going to be known to the public. So that communication, networking, it's a big, big role in what I do right now. I have to network to find the models, got to network to do everything. Yeah.
Gemise?
No, I think you want to go.
Oh, okay. For me, I guess I had a different Baruch experience compared to everybody. I think the only, what would you call those, job career development programs like MLT, SEO? I don't think I've applied, but I've gotten rejected. So I had to like go the other route, which was pretty interesting. So I guess the first time a network really played out for me was the summer of my junior year doing the Seek mentorship program. And that Rebecca actually recommended me to do that. And then that was like the first step where I realized how important networking was. And then through the Seek network, I got wind of being a part of USG. I've never been a part of a school government program before, so being a part of Baruch's student government was pretty interesting. And I feel like anybody who had the chance can like see how the logistics of the school works, especially a college as big as Baruch. And it's important to have the view set of how like a certain number of students can actually like lay out the experiences of college students for 1 year. And that was an important experience for me. I enjoyed being a part of like the events, the decision making, and that really was an eye-opening experience. And through that, through my own personal network, my friends, Rodolfo in mind, he mentioned Empower, which was the IT boot camp that I joined in order to like land me here. So I didn't have like a real established career development network, but for me, I feel like the Seek program at Brew College was really helpful, and my personal friends as my own network, the people that I know who were looking out for me, really like made a difference in my life.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, for me, I'll be honest and go and say I hated networking. I don't know. I just didn't find myself walking up to people, giving them a nice network pitch, and then it just didn't feel authentic and genuine to me.
Same for me too.
Yeah, and that's just, I'm a real conversational person. Like, I'd rather just get a nice vibe from you and go ahead. But I don't think I necessarily networked, I would say. I mean, it did start in college with, Baruch and being in Seek. I think that what helped me was just having a counselor and having like someone who mentored me. Because, I mean, I was in my first year and I wasn't really doing anything. Like, I don't even think I had a job my first year of college. And I didn't know about SAC, the student tutoring program at Baruch. I didn't know about that. I didn't know about peer mentoring until it just happened to come up. And I actually applied to both of those things the same year, in the same sophomore year. And I guess if I didn't speak to like Rebecca or Monica about it, then it wouldn't have happened. But I also had other opportunities that came after that. Speaking to Monica, just expressing to her like, oh, this is what I wanted to do. I'm interested in this. And it was funny because I wanted to be a communications lead, like workshop facilitator for the summer program. I didn't even know that she had like walked out to Dave and already reached out to him immediately. Like, who would have knew? And the fact that she did that, that was the only way that I was able to become a summer facilitator for the Seek program. But that was really it. She was my main person, my main go-to that was telling me about all the opportunities that were out there. And I think that's all I really needed. Like, I don't think I was really talking much. And my friends were also, helpful in ways as well. But the fact that I knew that these opportunities were available and I was just applying when I felt most comfortable, I think that was really what mattered, like to where I stand now. And the next question, how do you continue to challenge yourself and grow at your place of work? We're talking about challenging and growth.
Yeah, I could go. I don't know. For me, I get bored pretty easily. So I'm just one of those people who needs to be stimulated often to feel like, okay, cool. Like I'm like in the zone I want to be in. So, in my prior role, though I didn't love the content of what I was doing, I was still, going on my way to kind of like do other things that were actually just a lot more interesting to me naturally, whether that was like side projects, based on like different efficiency stuff that like the team needed. But really the most fruitful work I was doing had to do with Goldman's Black Network and NABA as well, because that through those pipelines is where I got the opportunity to do different things like, for the Black Network, like I helped lead like the Black intern summer experience where like, while we had those interns there, finding the Black ones, putting them in these like different sessions with like different Black VPs for networking purposes, doing different like weekend activities, like taking them up to, Park City, Utah, which is like a more like touristy, vacational kind of area in Utah and stuff like that. So, because like for me, like I could not give a fuck about what I do or like the company I work in, but I think the one constant is like, for me, is like diversity and inclusion. So as an analyst, it's very little I could control as far as like diversity numbers, but while I'm there, while I was there, the things I can't control are, making myself available to different Black new hires and interns, being some semblance of a mentor or a contact for them, because when I came in, I didn't have that. So, keeping myself challenged was really, getting into recruiting, at different local universities and stuff like that. Just doing work that I was a lot more passionate about. That was really like the main thing I was doing to kind of like keep myself actively stimulated and felt like I was working towards something, because again, like your day job is your day job. Like you could love it or hate it, but it's going to be a constant. So for me, it was the extracurriculars that I was really like poking my head up to find that was really, keeping me there longer. So.
I could jump in. So to continue to challenge and grow, I definitely like, if I'm having some downtime, like I completed my projects task for that week or whatever, I'll just ask around my department, like, do they need any assistance with something? Because it's beneficial to me as well. Like I want to learn as much as I possibly can while I'm there. And being that like compliance is it's just like one word, but it's just so many things. Like we have a trust compliance, we have risk, we have fair lending. It's just so much. Like, so just, rotating around, getting to learn what they do as well has been really helpful because then, they're always thinking of you because you have extended yourself to help. Right. So if something comes up, they're like, oh, yeah, I think Zakia will be a great fit for that. And I kind of appreciate that because I do want to take on, more responsibilities, just learn as much as possible while I'm here. As long and another challenge is like just getting certifications. I think that's really important as well. Or taking on more training. You can never get enough training. Like there's always something more to learn on the job. So just things like that and like little things like just putting some time on a calendar to check in, ask them how's their day. They love talking about themselves, of course. Like just check in, what's new? Do you need any help? Just things like that has definitely helped me build relationships with, others outside of my department as well, but other departments. And that's been going well.
Okay. Definitely. Um,
You still thinking, or you need someone else?
no. I mean, I think I have an answer for myself. I mean, in IT, it's pretty straightforward. Like, the more you know, the more they pay you, the more they respect you, the more experience you have. So the main way for me to challenge myself is to basically, as Zakia put it, train and study for other certifications and different types of applications such as like cloud computing or coding or network building. And the more you know, the more you can deploy those systems in any form of business infrastructure can make you more valuable to the company. But at the same time, I do my best to educate people, especially if they don't really know how to use a computer. I do my best to like teach them how to do a certain task or teach them how to do their tasks faster and more efficiently, so they don't spend or waste time trying to do it or solve it by themselves. And I feel like that makes me more approachable to certain people. They feel more comfortable to talk to me about like their experiences and their difficulties with the devices that they are using. And I feel like the more I teach, the more I'm able to like help myself understand the devices that I'm using, and that all in all can help me create a better user experience for the people that I work for. So I feel like besides that, I don't know. In order to grow, I also participate in hobbies like this, creating a podcast. It helped me become more people savvy, like how I'm talking, recognize my tone, my voice, if people can hear me clearly, like helps develop my soft skills and like helps. This also helps me create conversations for people, which thus helps build relationships. So I feel like everything that I do plays a role in my professional life, and anything helps, so to speak.
Yeah.
Really, to quickly chime in on what something Hamed said, he spawned another thought. I think another thing that I think comes naturally too is that, because you said something that hinted to, is that performing well kind of just also breeds different opportunities for you.
Yeah.
I feel like, in most of these jobs, like once you're kind of like in that space where like you're viewed as a top performer, they just also throw nonstop work your way to kind of constantly, push you towards something. Like for me, like
That's a fact.
my last year and change of being at Goldman, like it was nuts. Like, like I went through like my first year not being great because I just didn't know anything about finance or accounting. And I was covering financial institutions and structured finance at the time. So it was just like, you picked the exact worst space to enter someone with no finance backgrounds. Like had I joined like the hedge funds team or something, it probably would have been different, but cool. So once I learned it, I felt like I was good. And like, obviously like people, I got along with people really well. The opportunities just started randomly coming. And then like my last year, I want to say like at the start of right before the start of the pandemic, like the two most senior analysts on my team quit the company. So that made me the most senior analyst on my team. And I get added to a third team that was like the vendor management portfolio. And then that ended up making me like the only analyst on 2 out of the 3 teams I covered. And it stayed like that for like over a year. So like, that was one of those situations where like I didn't really have to do much to seek out new challenges because I was just getting destroyed all the time. And like, but it was good and bad. Like bad in that it was extremely stressful and it was a lot, and you just like just burning out pretty quick. But then good in that I think the projects I did in my last year was so much better and so much more important than anything I did in like the 2 years prior. So like being in a position where like, you know, you're working on 3 different global teams. And so managing directors and VPs from all these offices are hitting you up like, hey, you're the only one that knows this. We need you to lead this project. It's like, cool. Do I want to do this? No, but then it's also like breeding new opportunity to kind of like get in different rooms. Yeah. So then that's what you end up doing. So
Oh, that's a fact too. For my organization, like there's only 3 compliance officers, and I'm like they have no backup support. So I'm backup for all 3. So what they don't do, I have to do on top of my own job responsibilities. So, and like I said, my manager's leaving. So we're down 1 officer. So I already know what's coming my way. I'm not looking forward to it in the next few weeks, but I am the only person that knows what to do. So I have no choice but to step up as well. I definitely get what you're saying.
That is a little backwards on my end when it comes to the hospital, though. This is not me talking about challenging myself, but in our department, it's like the more you do is the more work you get. And like if you're really efficient, it's like you're not stressed out automatically. They come to you for everything, and I'm not getting extra money for this. So, you know, like I tend to slow it down more. You know, my boss actually recommended that. He's like, yo, listen, if you're too good at your job, HR's gonna notice and they're gonna start giving you more work. And that's not what you're trying to do when you work an hourly job. You know, that's just how he looks at it. You know, like if I'm getting promoted, I'm getting promoted, but it's more like just slow it down a little. Don't overwork yourself.
I
Yeah,
feel
but
like that's the rule of thumb of a lot of things. Like for me, especially in like my family home when I was living with my parents, like doing certain things well. Like my brother struggles to like teach my dad certain things, especially with computers. So like they give everything to me. If it's like reading like a housing lease, can you read this for me, please? And I'm like, I can make a mistake. Like I like this is your livelihood right here. So it's definitely challenging when you do stuff well because people rely on you to continue that. And like if you say no, you're an asshole. So it's definitely a tough spot. You got anything else before we move on?
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, Brady.
Oh, I
Oh,
feel weird cutting off your lady, man. Don't beat me
no,
up.
you're fine. You're fine.
Um, I didn't get to speak on like what I do to challenge
Oh yeah,
myself. You know,
yeah.
like
Yeah,
as a
yeah,
photographer, one of your main things is to be vulnerable. And I feel like people who are too uh if you think you the shit, you don't have a lot of room to grow. That's just how I look at it. You know, so I tend to have this vulnerability for growth. You know, I'm always outside challenging myself, doing shoots that I'm not used to, you know, doing like, you know, different stuff that has nothing to do with my main type of photography. You know, like even street photography taught me how to communicate well, you know, but then I take that into boudoir photography and they don't even relate at all, you know, but it teaches you more, you know, you challenge yourself even more. You want to make something that looks like a foot look sexy, challenge. You know, I want to make this flower look like the most prettiest flower I ever seen. So I'm gonna sit there for a couple hours just trying to get that shot, you know, just always putting yourself in a more difficult environment,
Definitely.
you know, and that it truly helps you grow. Yeah, don't have too much ego if you're doing anything with art. You're gonna get your feelings hurt. Yeah.
I don't know. So I feel like where I currently work, there is no true challenge and there's really no growth. It's a pre-K Head Start program. There isn't. It's not like you're moving up the ladder. You could be a teacher for 15 years and still probably be doing the same thing. But for me personally, and this kind of started over the pandemic. I just started looking up like a bunch of free webinars, free trainings to actually attend, just to kind of, what can I say, like better my craft as a teacher, right? Because there's pressures coming from all over, right? What I'm teaching my students, how I'm teaching it to them. Like I have babies in my hands, right? So I have to make sure that I'm doing the right job. And the way that I'm trying to grow in this case is basically what I'm doing next year, moving on to teach kindergarten, moving on to teach first grade. I don't want to stay where I am, and I also want to move up the ladder as well, which would require me to make sure that I'm doing my job the right way. I'm also following a bunch of like other teachers on Instagram. You learn from the best, you learn from master teachers, um, and they're putting the pressure on me as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
We move on to the next one. Reflect right now. Is it time for a career change?
Definitely.
Nope.
I'm having a whole baby, man.
Oh,
Like, how you forgot? Are you not
no, no,
allowed
no,
to
no.
my
I
baby
was gonna be
shower?
like, you really want
Oh,
to change your career?
congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
You
congrats.
really want to change what you're doing? That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking about.
definitely. I mean, like my base job, when I say base, like my daily job, changing that shit up
Oh, okay, okay.
automatically, like as chilled as I am, I'm very aware when it comes to where I stand in
Mhm.
terms of supporting my partner, supporting the family and stuff like
Okay,
that. And I'm not
gotcha.
trying to be in a position where I have to think about money.
Hmm.
I prefer to have something that's just much more much more earning. You're not again, I've not even again, like when I see my parents struggle, I know what that shit is like. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing that wrong, bro. You need a different job. It's if it's not gonna help me have a much easier life with those new circumstances, it's not something I want to have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just was taken aback. I was like, whoa, you're gonna start photography and everything that you do?
Oh no, never. I'm actually doing much more of it now,
Oh, okay,
where I
okay.
was more relaxed because you know that it pays great, as
Yeah,
someone that's in my
yeah.
circle like that. I've been amplifying all of my talents, just to, you know, get more out of it. Before it was never a thing. I used to just chill about it and everything was a passion, but now it's more like you have a kid on the way and kids love what their dads do. So it's like whatever daddy's doing, that's the shit. And I'm here like, you know what? I'm about to do some fire stuff. So, they have something to be excited about, like that's just how I see those things in terms of career. Like I'm not trying to do this damn hospital shit forever. Like on a regular, that's normal. That's chilled. I'm with it. But like where is it gonna go? There's no growth to that. That's not something I want to do. Definitely looking forward to changing my career path in terms of my daily job.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like I did it recently, and so I could kind of speak to more what caused it. And yeah, I mean, I think for me, like the 3 years that I was in my previous role, like I didn't dislike the company that much. It was just more of like I just didn't enjoy what I was doing, and I kind of peeped that really early on. And so it was just like, too, after the first few months, I'm miserable doing this and I suck at it. So like, what is next? So for me, it was a cool, like, patience is key here. Don't run away from the role. Like put yourself in a position where like, if you leave this role, it's more about you moving towards a new opportunity versus running away from this role. And so the next thing for me is like cool, like get really good in this job. And so that was kind of like how I tackled my first year and a half in that role. It was just like, worried about being good at it, being a top performer, getting promoted. And so that happened. And so after that, it was like a cool, I have really good relationship with my manager. So I could be open with both my manager and managing director about, hey, like I'm ready for the next step. And I don't see that being in this organization. And so I spent like a good year or so looking within Goldman, but just not in credit risk or risk management at all. And so I was really kind of trying to move towards the marketing teams within the firm. And so just like, naturally with a bank, like marketing teams aren't in abundance. Like there's a few teams that do it, but they're also pretty small teams. So the roles don't open up often. And then of course the pandemic happened, it was like, oh cool, that now it's an added layer of hiring freezes because like everything is a mess right now. So spent another year in that role. And then that was like kind of what I was speaking to recently with like getting that to that third team and like my workload just like increasing dramatically. And now it's like cool. Like now, like at this point, I'm ready to just kind of like peek out the window and see what else is out there. And so for me, if I was to leave Goldman, it wasn't to go to another bulge bracket bank. Like to me, like leaving Goldman and going to JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley was like, it was gonna be a similar experience. So for me, it was like, cool, if I'm gonna leave, it's to like really get into a zone that I'm just a lot more comfortable and a lot more aligned with my personality. And so being back in tech was like the main thing I was targeting. And so, you know, as I said before, reaching out to my own manager, ended up like getting this current role, and I'm at Facebook now. So that transition like took a while, but ultimately it was worth it because I think in me staying in that role so long, I got staffed on projects that were just way beyond what I was doing prior. And a lot of like my interviews I was having with Facebook, like I spoke, like they had like all in all, probably spoke to like 6 or 7 different people in my interview process. It was like that first recruiter call, then like the hiring manager, and then like a 4-person super day where you speak to like 4 different people for 45 minutes each. And through all of those interviews, I felt like, wow, everything I'm speaking about is like the projects that happened over the last year. So like me staying in that role a little longer and toughing it through just ended up like working so much for my transition because like it was a lot more impressive work I was doing. So that's pretty much where my transition came from. It was like just like realizing quick that the work that I was doing wasn't for me. The industry I was in really wasn't for me. And so what are the steps I can take to kind of get back into a zone that I just enjoyed a lot more, and tech was that. So, you know, thankfully, you know, that transition, I was able to make that transition. So like pretty much now I'm just back to square one in terms of like learning a new role, figuring out how I can like work towards being a top performer in this space, and then just like moving on from there. So
That's what's up. Well, congrats to the new role, for sure. As much as I want to say yes to this question, I can't. Like, I feel like I just have so much more to learn where I currently am. And I feel like it will help give me perspective, like what I want to do next when it is time for me to transition. I'll have just like more experience to talk about other, you know, things to build off of. So, but what I do, because I'm so like intellectually curious, like I've never like com- getting comfortable just annoys me. Like I can never become too comfortable. Like I like to challenge myself constantly, learn new things. So I just like take on like part-time work as well, or just different like hobbies and stuff that, you know, gives me experience outside of what I'm doing for my day job. And that has helped me balance like passion versus what I do for work. And I would recommend everyone do that, because you know you have to have some kind of, you don't want to just sit in your role like, damn, I have to wake up every day and do something I really don't like for how long, right? So at least like I'm looking forward to doing something like I really love once, you know, the 9 to 5 is over.
No, I don't have.
Do you have an answer for this one?
No, I do.
Oh.
It's not time. I literally just started. I think that's what I like. I haven't even, to any other like teacher out there that's been teaching for 30 years. Like I barely got my feet wet.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't think I'm ready for a career change yet. I'm still trying to figure out where I can move along in the career that I am now. Maybe 10 years down the line. But I also enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
Like even though it might be frustrating, like I enjoy walking into the classroom knowing that all the kids are probably going to make me laugh at something they probably do at some point of the day. So I enjoy the kids, not the adults. That's where it is.
I mean, I can be quick for this one. No. I relatively am a baby in IT. There's dudes that have been in IT for like 30 plus years, 20 plus years, and they know like the experience is drastic. So I feel like I'm just like Gemise, I'm getting my feet wet. And yeah, I like what I do. I like being a part of a ever changing industry, things evolving, things becoming better, more efficient. And technology is increasingly just being like blended in our lives. Soon our homes are just going to be automated. We're going to know what's up if there's like, it can probably transform in the future. But I feel like IT in and of itself, since it's always evolving, the more you put your mind to it, the more you can evolve with it as well and become a better version of you a year ago. So yeah, that's
Oh, you were pretty quick with that one, bro. I'm proud of you.
my
We know how you get
answer.
now, man. But just to add in, because Jamise, like she said, teaching, like there's teachers that have taught for 30 plus years, right?
Yeah.
I feel like we are the generation of, I'm not staying at a job for
Oh yeah,
20
definitely.
years,
Yeah.
10
You
years,
are
20
the
years.
next
I just
generation.
can't see myself doing that. At the slightest bit of inconvenience, I'd be ready to go. So I could only imagine
I feel you.
sitting there for 10 years dealing with the same people. No, but it's also beneficial that we have that kind of outlook, like because we always are willing to go elsewhere, learn more, and really contribute to a lot of different organizations in that way.
Good
The only
point.
thing
Good
that'd be
point.
annoying with that is that I feel like you gotta stay 20 plus years at a place to retire.
Definitely not. I feel
That's
like
where it
I
be
Who
would
said that?
with the BS.
have.
Yo,
Certain
listen.
places you have to, if you keep
Yeah.
changing jobs, especially I know for teaching, if you
Yeah.
continue to change jobs and you're not staying at one place, your pension, whatever, your retirement, it prolongs it.
Yeah, I
Oh
mean,
my
on
God.
the other
They're
side of
so
that,
shady, man.
I know,
I would
right?
have been
there's some
out.
companies that can appreciate like someone who's stayed at one company for 3 years, another company for 5 years, because you're exposed to the different types of infrastructure. You can probably bring new ideas in from your experiences. So I feel like,
Staying
depending on
there.
the industry, but depending on the corporation, either if you're constantly changing, like okay, you're staying 6 months at a certain job, okay, that may be a red flag. But if you're doing commitments like Bacare, he stayed at Goldman Sachs for 3 years. Who knows how long he's going to stay at Facebook? But like different places of work does make you a more well-rounded person, I can see. So feel like if you feel like you've learned a lot, grown a lot at your place of work, and you stay there for a decent amount, I feel like it's okay
To walk out
to
the door.
venture out and explore
I
what
agree.
else the world has to offer.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think for me, like the big part of it, especially in corporate, is I mean, granted, I think if your resume just looks like I'm jumping from company to company,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
can be alarming. But what I realized quick is that I've had like those VPs I've worked with that have been at Goldman or whatever company for 10, 15 plus years, covering the same thing, and like that just always made me so uncomfortable. Not because like wow, like you love what you're doing that much and you stayed there, like that's beautiful, but I think it's the sense of like, wow, like you went stagnant because
yeah.
all
Yeah.
you've done is this one thing.
All you know is Goldman Sachs essentially.
Yeah, and then you never peeked outside to see your value. And I think for me, like what I learned, like, through going through it and like having friends that went through it is that like you'd be surprised how much more money you'd make jumping companies.
Yo.
Like I wouldn't. I'm not gonna say his name, but like it's somebody Hamed, who
Yeah.
like the one of our close friends who like freaking he started at one bulge bracket bank, then came to Goldman he was at that first bank for like a year and a half, then came to Goldman for a year, and then went to a consulting company, and bro went from like 80K to six figures. Like me jumping from Goldman to Facebook was like borderline like doubling my shit. Like it was just like, but you like because at the end of the day, like when you punch that ticket properly, it's like okay, cool. Like I have this Goldman, Bank of America, whatever company you're at or whatever into yet. When you punch that ticket, say yo, I have this experience. You know what type of employees come out of this company, so pay me appropriately. Like yo, you really really are able to kind of like garner your value in that market that way. So like I think for me that's what has always made me uncomfortable with like the thought of like just doing the same shit for 10 plus years. It's like, but I feel like you just leave so much money and opportunity on the table because you just get so comfortable with your current situation. So
Yeah, there's a lot of comfortable people out here.
Zakia, you got anything or you're
Nah, bro.
good?
That's the way she said
You're
that.
gonna
They really, they just they they hitting the nail.
They hit the nail on the cover. Copy. All right, the next question. Have you guys ever experienced imposter syndrome?
Whoever Carmen's smiling.
I know you felt that shit, bro. I know you
And
felt that.
can you repeat that? I'm so sorry, man. I'm
No
focused over
worries.
here.
Have you ever experienced imposter syndrome?
Okay.
Yeah. Bacare, you want to go first?
Yeah, I could go. I had a brief yes, the answer is yes, but it didn't last long. And I think for me, I just shifted my mindset very quickly. I would say like the biggest time I really experienced that was actually my internship at Google in the Bay, Summer 2017. And it was like first day orientation, I come in and like we're like everybody's talking, introducing stuff like that. And all I'm hearing is Harvard, Columbia, Yale. And like I'm just like, fuck. Damn, like yo, like everybody's like super elite in this room. So I definitely had like a short bit of like, damn, bro, like I don't know if I really belong here. And on top of that, like at the end of the day, like you had this internship to secure a full-time job. Like, yo, am I good enough to freaking get that return offer? But for me, like my mindset shifted super quick because it went from, yo, do I belong to like, you telling me you needed all of that to get to the same room I'm in with what I got. Like I just turned it into a chip on my shoulder very quick of like, okay, cool. Like it's beyond me not deserving to be here. So like, okay, cool. Like you 40K in debt at whatever institution, doing whatever you needed to do, but we at the same place at the end of the day. So I should never feel as if I don't belong, because if anything, like I had a harder path to get here, and like niggas are still here and doing the same thing, garnering the same opportunity. So yeah, imposter syndrome for me was a very in and out feeling, but I won't pretend it never happened. I think anytime for me, I'm like that drastically out of my comfort zone, like I relapse into it. Like, you just overthink things. You feel like, wow, like I don't know that I'm good enough to really last here. But then I just try my best to kind of like put it into a mindset that just like makes me extra competitive and just like, just makes me work way harder than what I was even prepared to do. So I just try to flip it as quickly as possible. But like it's for me at least, like I just overthink things and like get into my own head. So even if nobody's treating me like I don't belong, like I'm gonna convince myself that. So
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. I experience it off and on. Sorry. I experience it off and on as well. I think like the first time I felt that way was also an internship. Similar, like I'm like, oh damn, like I'm coming from, elite schools, and I'm just like, all right, Baruch. Oh, what's Baruch? Right? So I'm like, what the fuck am I doing in this room? Like they using words I've never heard before. I'm like, damn, right?
They're
So
speaking a
like, but
different
we are
English in
still,
here.
yeah, but we still are in the same room, like Bakari was saying. So, and I still experience it like in my current role. Like I said, I'm the youngest in my department. Like these people have, and I'm working for a corporation, which is, a males club, a white males club at that. So it's like, sometimes it's like, am I enough? Like, or do they see like the work that I'm really putting in? But I do try to shift the mindset. Like, yeah, it's a reason why I am here. It's a reason why they depend on me. So I'm doing something right.
I can definitely agree with like everything that's been said so far. I didn't really, it didn't even cross my mind before, but with my media companies, it's literally always like that, where you're in a room with all these damn elites, and I'm just there like, wait, y'all went to college for this shit? Like I'm always feeling like I have like this extra, I have extra to fill. Like there's much more for me to do. I have much more to put on the table and be something that I'm clearly not. You just listen to people talking about how much they travel and stuff. Like they come to New York basically, and I live in New York, and they're like, so where you're from? This guy is like, yeah, I'm from some extra shit, man. There was this other guy from like the Netherlands, and he's like, yeah, that's where I'm from. I'm like, I'm from Brooklyn, bro. It took me like 15 minutes to get here. Like, it's like always extra. Like that's one of those environments where you're always questioned, but I also feel like we're conditioned to be that way no matter how much we have. Like no matter how talented we are, we don't feel like that's ever enough. And that's how it felt when orientation, everyone there went to college. That's how I always looked at it, man. It's a whole bunch of college kids. There was one black dude with an afro and a hair pick, and it's like I don't feel like I belong in this environment. And mind you, I was one of the only people that got in, so it was you don't feel, you feel so out of place. And I
Definitely.
just feel like that's just how we're raised. That's the poverty rubbing off on us. Like we don't feel like we belong in a place where success happens. It's like, all right, I need to do more. I need to be like whoever is here. Mind you, you're just like them. Shit, they're normally twice your age and you doing what they're doing. Like you flexing hard, but we never feel that way. We just feel so like we lacking something. That's I feel like it's a little conditioning. We just don't see it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Rahim. Thank you. Um, I definitely my first year, especially at this company, I definitely felt out of place. I don't know if it was imposter syndrome, but I definitely felt like I was out of my league because everybody just knew what to do, and I was over here struggling with like simple tasks. Like I forgot certain things that I've learned in my boot camp. But the more I got comfortable in the workflow and the pressure, the more that I realized that my position was well deserved because I learned a lot. I learned really fast. I've gotten praise from my manager, and so I'm realizing now that it was just the pressure, just the pressure, because they literally just throw you in and you got to learn as you go.
Mhm.
So there wasn't really any um, training, so to speak.
Yeah.
They trained you how to use their systems, but not how to like actually fix computers. That's basically up to you. So yeah, but the more I got comfortable with the workflow, the more I was in there like swimwear.
Yeah, I feel like I echo a lot of, especially what Zakia mentioned. Like, I'm literally the youngest person
Same.
in the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone else is in their 40s, 50s, like way up there. So I feel like when I first entered, there are people that have been here for at least 10 plus years,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm an incoming teacher, and they're either expecting me to be like the other young person that just left, or they're expecting much more from me, or that the fact that I don't know anything, right? Because I'm a new teacher, she must not know anything. Um, and I feel like that was very hard for me my first year because I was like dealing with a lot of behavioral children.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the time I didn't know what I was doing. I feel very disappointed about how that first year ended, but I feel like now I've gotten to a point where it's like I'm a damn good teacher. Like no one can tell me anything. I'm better than half the people in here that have been sitting here just being stagnant and getting comfortable and
Mm-hmm.
not understanding like the landscape of education. They haven't changed anything that they've been doing for years, which is irritating. So I feel like a change of mindset was really important in that. Especially with the simple fact that like people will make you seem like you don't know nothing. But I think a big part of that is like owning your expertise. Like
Definitely.
That's right. That's
you know
right.
what you can do, you name it, and you let people know. It's that simple.
All right.
So next question: do you feel safe and respected at your place of work? Yeah, right.
No,
That's right. Go ahead, Rahim. You share first.
like for me, it's an automatic no,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll tell that to any other person that's getting in.
Mm.
And this is massively a race thing. You always feel that negativity. Like leave it up to me just being me, and I'd get kicked out quick. But if I wasn't good at what I do, it's a different situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like I definitely don't feel it. Like never, literally never. My 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 state of comfort is literally a mental thing. The second I let that down, all those flags start going up. Like you never feel that kind of respect coming from like even higher ups. It's never like your colleagues or anyone else. It's normally the higher ups. They just look down at you in a weird way. A couple trust issues, like it'll move like I just didn't see you put your phone away, bro. It's like those little certain things, like this is little cues that always catch my attention. It's never anything big. It's never anything too like obvious, but it's like certain movements that let me know where they stand.
Definitely.
And that goes back to that code switching. That's how I know automatically where you stand as someone. Like some people see it as respectful, but I just see it as like, all right, that person's fake. I can't deal with them. or why did this person get the offer but I didn't, and I clearly am more talented. Like in those cases, I always know automatically what it is. Like, and that's just, I don't want to instill like negativity into anyone.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't speak on this subject much
Yeah.
at my place. Like, I'm not trying to discourage people of color to do it,
Yeah.
but when you do put yourself in that field of creators, you will always be belittled simply because of who you are.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah, it happens all the time. Nobody talks about it, but it's very true. A lot of favoritism goes on there, and that's one of the big roles.
Yeah, but it's great that you're naming it, Rahim, because people don't like to talk about the reality of the situation.
Girl, I'm on
They're
like
afraid to
always
speak
on the
about
edge
things
of
like
getting
that.
fired. So I'm being serious, man. I just be talking. I ain't got no time for it. Like, I'm always on that edge of being fired. If I didn't have like the energy to match, get that guy out of here. Like, I don't even like I don't even feel comfortable even just saying it, but it's so true. It's
Yeah.
difficult to operate in the field when you're a person of color. They look at you funny. It's
Right.
like it's like watching a car crash, then you walk close to that car and you feel like another car is about to crash. Or you hear gunshots go off and you go outside to buy some cookies or some shit. Like, you feel endangered,
Yeah.
and they feel endangered around you. Or you're not up to their standards. It's like, I never feel that respect coming off, and it's strange. It even comes from our own people, but it never feels, you don't feel that respect. That respect comes from within. It's so strange. Very, very strange. But I can definitely tell you, don't feel that kind of respect. I'm talking about my media jobs, by the way. Just making that very
Okay.
clear. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a certain type of people in that media place, man. It's like when you do a lot of talent-based stuff, it's always a certain type of people. Like, like my hospital job, now we cool. I definitely feel the respect there because I get to be me. I don't even need to wear my uniform, so I know where that respect is.
Mhm.
But when it comes to anything big, anything with a corporate name on it, that color starts coming in and people start moving weird.
Got you. Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Zakia?
to jump in really quickly, I'm not gonna take much, but safe and respected, absolutely not. And that's just that's just the
Nice.
unfortunate
That's real as
that's the
fuck.
unfortunate
Yeah.
truth, like
Yeah.
working in corporate America. Like, I know they will be fast to throw me under the bus. So like,
Mhm.
just always
It's scary,
protecting yourself,
man.
you like some advice that my manager even told me, because when she first came on, she said it was really bad for her, like, because she's also black, like they was very hostile, very disrespectful towards her. And she's like, I don't want you to have that same experience here, but like it happens. Like, they are really stuck in their ways. Like, it's a white male's club here.
Yeah.
Right. So just having that level of protection, like save the emails that they sending. Like, it's unfortunate that you even have to do all of that, but just having like documentation of these encounters with these people, because you never know, you really never know. And especially being that they have been there, they have a little more leverage. You're coming in as someone young, you have not been there long, I'm black. Come on,
They
like
think you
let's be,
ignorant,
Mhm.
dumb
yeah,
stuff.
let's keep
Yeah.
it, 100, right? So safe, no, respected, no. And like Rahim was saying, it's usually from like my department, fine, like we have established that level of respect, but it's usually from higher ups. Like, they are not
Mm-hmm.
seeing you, they're not encountering and having interactions with you, on a day-to-day basis. Like, you only see them on an email thread or on a board meeting or a committee meeting, right? So they don't know you personally. So there's no time to kind of establish that respect with them, which is unfortunate, because it's like they are always looking down. It's like a hierarchy in these corporations, but it is what it is.
Got
You
you.
just have to know how to navigate it correctly.
It's weird.
Exactly.
It's complex. I don't know if any other males here experience this, right? As a black guy, I always find myself overextending my sexuality to get that
Mhm.
respect. And it's something my girlfriend knows very well. We use that to our advantage, actually. But it's like you have to amplify everything you are just to defeat whatever assumptions they have. Like, why do I have to radiate energy for you to see me as a regular person or for you to approach me correctly. You know, like, why must I be a flirt for you to just be humane?
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's so much that's going on at work and they never talking about it. And I think like work is a place where a lot of these higher ups come to look for respect because they do not get that shit in their house.
Definitely.
You know, like I don't know what you women experience, but what I experience from female bosses, they always have that need for like clarity. And male bosses, they just need like you have to stroke their ego apparently for them to just relax for a second. You know, a lot of these people come to work with all of these like broken ideologies of themselves, and you have to just do more. You know, it's something like I dislike a lot about just the social interaction of being a colored person.
Yeah.
You know, it's either I'm gonna be sexy or I'm gonna be feared, and it's never in between.
No.
You know, it's like being a black woman where is she either aggressively voluptuous, thick as hell, or she's ratchet.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like, okay, that's an intelligent person, that's someone that's well educated. You know, it's like it's so much you gotta reroute just to get that respect, feel safe or respected. I'm sorry if that was a little long.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Bacare, you got anything?
Yeah, really quick. I mean, I think for me it's two different buckets as far as like, do I feel safe and respected based on like the people I have to work with versus just like the broader company.
Yeah.
And just speaking more towards my last role, because I mean, in my current role, it's just like I'm still pretty new to it, so like I don't really have a strong opinion on it yet. But like for me, like everybody that I had to work with, I definitely felt respected for sure. Like I got really lucky in like the people that I rolled up to. I'm like my managing director, like though she was like a white woman, like she was one of the bigger proponents for the diversity networks in the Salt Lake City office. So she always, if anything, took extra interest in like how I was doing. Like I was one of the few analysts in her division that had like one-on-one meetings with her, and that was just like us kicking it about how things were going or like, you know, career stuff or whatever. So yeah, for me, so that was kind of my experience at Goldman. Like I just always had really dope management I rolled up to that was always like I just always felt like I was in a position where like, if anything ever did happen in that vein, like there's definitely people who are gonna like step up on my behalf. So like that really wasn't my concern. For me, it was more of like, and partially overthinking, but also just like making observations about how Goldman was. Like I was never in a position where I felt as if it was impossible for me to get fired, even if I was performing well. And because of that, I just always kind of operated in the sense that like, I really got to make sure I'm doing any and everything.
Yeah.
Put myself in a position where like my job is secure. And I think, I mean, granted, that's me partially overthinking stuff and me just like actually having friends that I started with who ended up getting laid off under bullshit circumstances. So, I mean, for me, I think I definitely, from a people perspective, always felt respected and safe. But then through the broader company and how they operated with certain things, like in the back of my mind, it was always like, all right, bro, like, do you possible for you to get laid off? All things considered, probably not. More than likely, I was probably never in a situation where I was going to get laid off. But like, I just like operating under that mentality, just so like it just, if anything, is like extra motivation to continue to bust my ass. So
Yeah.
No, that's a good point to
Yeah,
point out
that's
though, because we're
beautiful.
all
Yeah.
replaceable. Like we're all replaceable to these organizations. Like always, we leave, they're gonna find someone that could do the job, right?
Yeah.
So I know we can all like just think of one person that got laid off or fired, that really loved their job. And then there's us, like, or well, there's me. I don't particularly like have a love for this job, but I'm pretty good at it. I love the experience I'm getting from it. But you just always have to keep in mind that nothing's forever. Like you want to secure, you want to make sure that you have some kind of security with these jobs, but nothing's forever. Even if the company go bankrupt, like you're out of a job regardless, right? So just keeping that in mind.
Yeah.
Thank you, Z. I definitely, when I first started, I definitely felt like any mistake I made could get me instantly fired. Because I'm working with computers. Sometimes I'm working on like networks, and like one mistake, one miss input, you can like shut down the whole network. And these are people's companies that you're managing. So definitely there's like a higher risk of getting fired at my place of work. I don't, the respect, I feel like I had to earn it in a way. Because at first I was like, I'm seen as this green guy, barely new to IT, not really knowing what I'm doing. And I wasn't feeling like I was respected by people. Not like they were insulting me, but because I don't really think that they think that I knew what I was doing. So in order to gain that respect, I had to like do the things. I felt like I had to show them that I know how to do it without asking help, and like they can trust me with different people's companies and stuff like that. So feeling safe and respected, I would say, was definitely earned. I don't feel like I'm being targeted, but I do feel like my job, I'm like, I feel like I'm on the edge. If I make a mistake, I feel like I can get fired. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I speak to Hamed about this a lot. That I definitely do not feel safe or respected where I work. Um, and I think, I mean, it's a very toxic environment to begin with. For me personally, it's not a real productive environment. But I saw how like Bacare, he mentioned the corporation itself and then the people he works with. And I'm thinking of, for me, it's the manager I have and then the people that I work with, right? And I could offer up just say my manager definitely not safe and respected at all. Like she will take any point in time to come in and criticize anything that I'm doing. I've never heard nothing good come out of her mouth for about me, and it's always been toxic. It's always been some form of attitude, some form of Janice is doing something wrong. I need to scold her on it, basically. And she's always had like very specific comments, just coming up with assumptions about certain things that I've done, without like trying to get to know me, right? She's never built a relationship with me. But as far as like the people that I work with, I would say the same for them as well, like half and half. There are some people that I can go to, I can trust to have conversation with them, but then the whole environment is like gossip. It's like I talk about this teacher, I'm talking about this, what they do. Oh, I don't like them. Oh, I got into a conflict with this person. I need to go tell the family worker about this. Like nothing is kept safe and sacred, or like between the two people that have the conflict. And I think for me, every time I walk in there, it's always an instant like I have to have my guard up real quick. Like I'll catch an attitude real quick because that's how they bait me. I used to come in very happy and smiley and like, yay, I'm coming in here about to teach the kids and all this other stuff. But I feel like the people around you are like making it difficult, right? And I can honestly say I'm not around a lot of Black people. It's
I was
mainly,
gonna say something.
yeah.
I ain't say nothing. I knew it
No,
was an
no,
old
it's
white lady that was complaining about your fresh, young, energetic self being around these people who don't see a lot of people. It happens, man. I know it sounds silly, but I'm telling you, I see it every day. It's weird. They
Right.
need
yeah,
that clarification.
it's
I
Yeah,
something
guarantee if you
managing
really
came in
and
bummy,
hard.
they wouldn't say nothing to you. She came in all crusty and shit. Like she don't look like competition. You're doing a great job, sister. Like it's sick.
That would
It's
never come out of her
toxic.
mouth. It's no,
Not
it's the
that's
yeah.
toxic. But it's
it's
also the simple fact that like the thing is that I think me and her also just got off on the wrong foot as well. So I feel like the minute that I challenged her, it was it. Like I needed to be
Mm.
on her back, and you really saw her personality instead of like her managerial skills come out. It was like I can't have a conversation. Like I can't hold my what can I say? Like hold my ground or like not get angry when she's talking to me. Like I'm showing you who I am, even when I'm talking to like a friend. Like no, you have to. There's a specific way that you have to present yourself as a manager. But like that's why I'm leaving. I'm out the door. I can't deal with people like that. And I'm convinced that part of it is that she is racist. Um,
I'm
yeah,
telling you,
which is
man.
the very unfortunate part. But I'm convinced there are certain comments, there are
Not she
certain things
is.
that she said. Um, but I'm pretty convinced that that's the case. So I feel bad for the kids, but Yeah.
What you gotta do is bring Hamed in one day. Just put on some nice clothes on him. I'm telling you, I do it with my girl. You gotta use this to your advantage. Just test that shit out one day. Have him dressed out really nice and have him look at her like twice. Her old ass is like, you know what? Maybe she could stay for a little. Like it's
Don't.
it's li- it's little gross things like that that I actually dislike. Like other brothers would be excited to hear shit like that. Like, yo, there's chicks like that at your job. I'm like, that's actually uncomfortable. Where you gotta reach just to get that respect. Like,
Mhm.
why you gotta be garbage towards me because you feel insecure about yourself or you're
Mhm.
looking for extra, you know, there's the word, my damn vocabulary, but just extra clarification on who you are. Like she probably has a rough ass life. I guarantee you, not a lot of action going on, like love, excitement, happiness. Like I don't mean like sex, Hamed, you little.
No,
No.
that's but you know what? With that, that's her problem. Like, don't put
No,
that
no,
on
it
me.
is her problem, but they don't realize you shouldn't be taking these kind of traits and characteristics
Yep.
towards your job. Like,
Yep.
why are you looking for fulfillment from me, my man? You make like twice the amount of money I do. Like
Mhm.
why am I on your level? Like, especially mentally, like you're supposed to be like being a manager right now. Why are you speaking to me like this? And why is all of this extra shit important to you?
Exactly.
Like you have like for me now, I get a weird thing where I can't mention my girl too much because they're gonna start moving weird. Like, well, what's good with y'all in here, man? Like, it's never anything about work that they're mad at. It's never anything professional. Like you could be killing it. You sound so passionate about teaching, right? And
Yep.
it doesn't matter to them apparently. Like that's never their base on arguing. Never.
That's how
Like
you
I saw
leave.
her yelling at the special ed kids. Like come on. That's
Yeah.
something I'd really be like, you know what? You need to work on your patience. But no, it's always something left field. Like I feel you, son. It's just that's
Yeah.
that weird colored stuff we don't talk about, man.
Yeah.
I think
You
all of
just
us
her
go through
reading
that.
it and speaking on it,
Yeah.
and then
But
if you
damn,
don't feel
Jim.
safe or respected, you walk out the door. You make it
But
that
Jim, that's
simple.
just unfortunate that it's like your manager and also the people that you work with daily.
Yeah.
Like that's a double homicide right there. That's tragic. Like,
It is.
I'm sorry, I'm not
Double
being even
homicide.
though they don't deserve you.
No, that's why I
No,
say I feel like I'm
Yeah.
so glad that the younger generation is at a point where it's like wherever you don't feel wanted, you just walk right out
Yeah.
the door
no, it's important
because
for
they
you to
don't want
leave.
me. And you know what? They don't need my
It's very
expertise.
important for you to leave. Like, especially where you can't change that perspective,
Hmm.
you definitely have to leave, man. And that overreaching is the worst feeling.
But it's
I'm
also a
feeling
lot of
like a
work
whore at
fixing and
work. I don't
changing
like it.
people.
It's awful. It's awful. I'm proud of you for leaving, man, because I wish I had that mentality instead of amplifying my chocolate instead. It's like, oh, you treat me funny, then I'm gonna be sexy. Get out of here. You ain't firing me. Yeah, I'm
Alright.
proud of you. Very proud of you. That's not a good environment to be working in.
Thank you. Yeah, I advise y'all. Don't feel safe and respected. Walk out the damn door. Tell them that they can kiss your ass. Okay.
They might take it serious if I say it. One, two, three,
It is
four.
literal.
All right. Last question. Is there a lesson from your experience that you would like to share with the younger generation?
The
The
kids that
younger
just started.
generation.
Yes, the up and coming generation that's ready to work and find out the woes of adulthood.
I would say, if we're talking to the younger generation, have a capacity to learn new things. And this is something I say a lot. Like we're joking around, right? We're all just very serious, but we're also playful. However, be receptive. There we go. That's what I'm saying. Like I realize a lot of the younger generation lack that reception where they are unable to hear someone be so right about
Mhm.
something they're doing wrong. Like when you're in that situation of being told to do something correctly, don't feel as if you need to be defiant. You should look at what is you doing? Like, am I actually doing this wrong, or am I, being targeted? You're not being targeted. You're being taught how to do something better.
Mhm.
And just have a little resilience. Like even though how we're just celebrating how easy it is for us to push away from a negative space. But at the same time, are you pushing away from this negative space because you are being mistreated or because you're lazy?
Mhm.
You know, those are two different things, and you know, something to consider. You know, you have to have that drive to really look at things in a productive way.
I love
Yeah, you know that. Yeah, patience. That's the theme. Have a little patience.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I could hop in. I have like three broader categories. I mean, I think so. He hit on my last one was patience. So I'll start there. I think more than anything, especially someone like myself who's just like incredibly impatient and just is just so ready for things I want to happen within 2 seconds. Like, definitely put yourself in a position where like, you're just like tempering your mindset and like your expectations for things, right? And just like being patient in that, the things that you're working towards are gonna come when the time is right. So in the in between, just like continue that, putting your head down and grinding it out. I'll say the next one would be, finding great mentors. I think for me, having those amazing mentors and connections have just guided me so far in everything I've done up to this point. And so, finding yourself in a new space and finding that amazing mentor that's not only going to provide you the guidance and advice on where you want to go, but also providing you that critical feedback, like, telling you when you're like, nah, that was not it. That's not how you should approach it, or whatever the case may be. I'm like finding people who are, both helpful enough to guide you, but then also honest enough to like, tell you when you're wrong, and just like continuing to like help you grow. And I would say the last one and the biggest thing that's carried for me is just like being comfortable being uncomfortable, and like being nimble and trying new things, because I think for me, in my opinion only, especially this early on in our careers and our lives, like comfort is one of the worst things that no, let me not say that, but being too comfortable rather is like the worst thing to do for yourself, because I think then at that point, you become stagnant and you're not really seeking out new opportunities to grow, new opportunities to kind of like learn new things. And so like for me, like, graduating college and hopping into finance or no finance background was a huge part of that, right? It was just like, all right, I don't have this experience now, but I want it, so I'm gonna do it and figure it out. And I know it's gonna be tough. And through that, you learn a lot about what you like and don't like, and that carries you to your next opportunity. So then it's like, okay, cool, now I'm in a new position where like, all right, now I'm learning a bunch of new stuff again. Now I'm like, putting myself in a position where I could grow a ton again, and then you kind of like get what you want out of that and then move on again. And so just like, never being stagnant and too comfortable, and just like, always putting yourself in a position where, you're forcing yourself to grow and learn new stuff is definitely like the overarching things I would say.
Definitely.
Yeah, this is tough. They both said great responses. I don't think I'm the spokesperson for this right now. But I would say like, to take the risk, definitely. Like um it's worth it because you never know where you'll end up. Like challenge yourself. Don't like Bacare said, like don't be too comfortable. It's okay to challenge yourself. Like apply for that position you don't think you qualify for. Like just get out your comfort zone and really try to accomplish or meet your goals and exceed your expectations for yourself. And I will also say, dang, I lost my train of thought. um, Make time for like things that you love. So your job is only one aspect of your life. Like it shouldn't be everything. You shouldn't let it take over. Right. So always still make time for things that you love. Follow your dreams in any way that you can. Just make time for that because you need some kind of balance. Like you don't want to be miserable like the people at Jimmy's job. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, for me, to the younger generation, I would definitely say you have time, calm down. There's no rush to like growth and like become the best person you want to be. Some people get successful at the age of 40. Not saying that that's going to be on your path, but things will work out the way you want it to work out if you continue to work on it. And you're still your passion. Don't forget to love yourself. Don't forget about your mental health. Don't burn yourself out doing the things that you think you should be doing because you see the other person doing it at a younger age. That's their life. You have to be able to make sure all the components in your life are tuning and working, and all the cogs are in the right place before you can be that person that you want to be in the future. And I know like it's difficult with the social media age to like not compare yourself to everybody and like feeling like you're not doing the best you're supposed to be doing because everybody looks to be successful and you feel like you're not, on your path to success. Man, that's my message.
Interesting. I feel like y'all really did a whole wraparound. I definitely agree with Bacare about getting a mentor or a coach. I feel like those are that's the main thing in my life that has really helped me just be able to talk to someone about how I can grow. Because they're going to see mistakes that you probably wouldn't even want to admit at that point. And I feel like one big thing, even though, we're telling people to take all the opportunities they can, make sure that they take risks. I also think there's, what can I say? Like a value in saying no, right? Because sometimes we do get overwhelmed and you start to say yes to this and yes to this. And either you can handle it, but it's also not beneficial to your health and your mental. So I definitely think that when you get to a point that you're doing too much, that it is okay to say no, right? There's a lot going on in life. People don't know what you're experiencing. Do what you need to do and make sure that you're good, you're safe, and you're healthy.
All right.
And that's it.
I guess with that, thank you to our panelists for sharing all of their experiences about their 9 to 5s, their college experiences, and thank you for sharing. To our audience, this is the final episode of this season. We'll be back in September with brand new things, brand new, how should I put this? I guess, opportunities for us so we can share y'all. Stay tuned for merch. We're planning on like experimenting with like shirts and stuff and mugs, maybe phone cases in the future. Who knows? But we're definitely excited.
I'm not trying to dig in our pockets. That's all right. I'm saying.
No, just stay invested.
Just stay invested. Just stay invested. To the panelists, if you guys want to stay over and hang out, or if you want to leave, there's no problem with that. And to our conversators, thank you very much for everything you've done. Thank you so much for the support, the shares, and the messages. And to them, until next time.
Thank you for having us. This was